So, welcome to May version of Crush to Chaos. Um, we do this once a month. We get together some panelists and kind of go over what their specialties are, and then have a conversation around their specialties, their business, their clients, and kind of how AI and automation works into that and how they're helping their clients crush the chaos. So, basically, we're trying to kind of cut through the hype. We want to make sure that people can get some value out of this so that they can take some nuggets back and maybe reduce kind of their chaos or their frustrations in their current business or even in their personal lives, create some better systems and have an idea of how to do some things a little bit more efficiently. My name is Philip Brown. I'm the host for today. I am a systems and automation strategist. I am the creator of Ghost CEO, which is a book yet to be published, but I do publish tidbits of it every week on my LinkedIn. So you'll see those posts come out, I think, either every Wednesday or Friday, depending on what's going on that week. And also, obviously, host of Crush the Chaos, which is a once a month event. Um, my mission is to help leaders, small businesses, founders kind of escape that chaos so that they can get back to concentrating on what they originally got into business for. That's doing and serving their clients. First up, we have our panelists. They'll introduce themselves a little bit, and we'll go with Tim first. How's it going, Tim?
Hey, how are you? I'm great.
Put you in the spotlight, and I'll give you the share capabilities here.
Okay. All right. So, hey, I'm Tim Kilroy. I'm a multi-time, or actually, I'm a terrible employee. Is what I am. Just an awful, terrible employee, which is why my wife says that entrepreneur is actually French for can't hold a freaking job. Um, so, um, and there's another definition I have for entrepreneur, which is uh, the definition of entrepreneur is being too dumb to know when to quit. Because you get so many benefits from just being able to tolerate more stuff than other people. Um, and so today, today I want to talk about something that's maybe a little bit different than you've heard on Crush the Cows, because I'm not going to talk about a process that you create using AI or anything that makes you more efficient. I want you to think about this as a reminder to just be more human. Now, just as by way of introduction, I work primarily with agency owners and some SaaS businesses and a couple of other folks, and I really help folks on the front end of their business, defining their positioning, their go-to-market strategies, their sales processes, how to make their clients feel really, really valued during the first 30 days or 60 days of an engagement. And I'm really excited to give this fantastic, in my own humble opinion, because I'm gonna shine myself on just like ChatGPT does. That this is, arguably the most insightful, inspiring, and you know, monumental 12 minutes that you're gonna have in the next 12 minutes.
Mhm.
So, all right. Uh, I think this is you, right? You guys can see this? Yay?
Yep, we
Yes.
got
All
it.
right. So AI can't close deals. Fucking goodness. I mean, that's so good for all of us because the minute they can close deals, well, you know what? That's probably not likely to happen um, anytime really soon. Now, I do think, just so we know, I do think that agents will be buying stuff, but no complex services that need to be sold. So I think that agents will buy access to things and they will buy products, but not complex services. Um, so, all right. Oh, here we go. I gotta go way over here to change. Okay. So I want to tell you a story. This is from my last agency. Um, we got invited to we were a teeny tiny team, and we had one really freaking big customer, and we got an introduction to this really truly amazing business. They were venture funded, they had huge ambitions, and I went in and gave the best pitch of my entire life. It was still to this day, I have never given a pitch and sort of been in the moment, been in the pocket more than I was that day. And I had to take a red as I was in San Francisco. I live in Boston. I was on the red eye home, and I was like, the whole time I was like, oh, this is a transformative opportunity for us. And also a very funny, weird uh, happenstance. One of the people on that team was college roommates with my high school prom date. Weird. Didn't know that going in, but it's true. Um, and so I got out of that meeting like we hit every note, and it's going to be extraordinary. And I knew that our price to benefit ratio was better than anyone else's like on the planet, and we had all the technology we needed. And then I got home the next morning, and I got a call from the woman I just pitched the day before, and she told us like, you were the best. You had the best solution. You understood our business better. Like it was so on point. But the board decided that because of your size, even though we had a bazillion pounds of technology behind us, at that point we called it machine learning, um, they decided that it was too risky to go with us. And it took me a long time to like come to terms with that, because I always thought that business in many respects, when you got to the pitching stage, was sort of a meritocracy or a best value discussion. And then this has introduced something that I just had never really thought about before. Like there's risk when you jump into a partner jump in with a partner. And so this brings me, and that devastation still, like this is now what it's over a decade later, and it still hurts. And I'm still in touch with that CMO, and she is lovely and awesome. And every time I talk to her, I'm like, what the hell? Come on. Like this would have been so great. But anyways, so as I've been working with all of my clients, and they are so excited about AI from on a biz dev front. They're less excited about it in the way that it impacts their agency delivery, but on the biz dev front, they are super, super, super excited because like suddenly they can spam everybody at once, bazillions of emails painlessly. And when they go through this process of leveraging all of the tools that they have at their disposal, they are able to create like pretty compelling opportunities for themselves. But their win rate is lower. And that's because everybody has access to the same data, the same synthesis, and the same industry research because it all lives inside of Claude or ChatGPT. Like it's all there. And so, what used to be an extraordinary advantage of scale, which you had more resources to do stuff, well, that has kind of evaporated. So, once we take that benefit, that advantage out of the way, there's still things that, well, AI can help you find potential fits and create a a really good story. It does not have the foresight, the intelligence, or the life experience to be able to hear those things that aren't ever really said. You know, is the company, has it just done a funding round or is it trying to do a funding round that no one's talking about? Is the CMO on thin ice? What's their experience both in this company and in previous companies about experiences with service providers? There's stuff that nobody ever says out loud, and AI still can't see that. Now, I made the mistake when I pitched this deal by focusing on the most obvious stuff. Scale and performance. Cool. What I didn't think about, and I never even considered this, they were going to spend like $1.5 million a month in paid media. We were handling about, our biggest client was like $150,000 a month in paid media. And so we were saying that we could do something 10 times bigger. And now I'm like, what were you thinking, Tim? Like that was such a critical, tactical, strategic mistake not to address that better and make that like the entire point of the meeting. Like our technology works and here's why it scales. So I didn't even think about this risk, and AI will lead you down that same primrose path and give you all of the empiric reasons why you were a good fit and but it won't give you the real reasons why you're not going to be a good fit. So the way that I have actually worked with my clients is to get them to figure out their last 3 deals that they lost. Did the client not understand what the agency did? Or did you not understand the concerns? And we have gotten to the point with my clients that I, on their behalf, proactively reach out to their lost clients and ask why they didn't get the deal. And the reasons are rarely the fact that you did not articulate yourself well or make a compelling value proposition, but you didn't understand the risk and concerns that they had. So you might have been doubling down on your strengths, but there was some concern that they did not voice that you didn't know to address. And this functionally it's a real issue when it comes to relying on AI as a go-to-market driver. So AI just gathers data. It just smushes together data, and it uses M-dashes way too freaking often. But, it's accessible to everyone. What is not accessible to AI is the kind of questions and empathy and frankly nosiness that you can have when you are investing yourselves in a sales process to create trust and shared vulnerability. Because if a prospect does not trust you, they're not going to share things that they're really afraid of. And so AI will give you the stamp of correctness, but it cannot create trust for you. And so, and I see this especially with folks who are earlier in their career using AI, they're treating AI as a script or as a how-to. And when it comes right down to it, a business transaction, especially involving services and that sort of thing, it really comes down to not are you good enough to do the job that we need you to do? Because most people are. It's largely about do we trust you enough to do the job that we need you to do? Do we think you have the right experience, the right understanding, the right sort of agency and curiosity, and the right gumption to tell us that to push back against us? And those are all of the things that we are losing when we overly rely on AI. And so I want to introduce this totally made up metric that I actually invented in 2018. ROU, return on understanding. There is no way to measure it. It is not empiric. But when we think about it this way, AI makes scale free, research is free, outreach is free, decks are free. Like there's like the ability to make yourself look as good as your biggest competitor. That's like that's easy. Like you can do that. It might take you a few minutes, but you can do it. So the only thing that is left to compete on is how deeply you understand the needs, motivations, concerns, and ambitions of the other humans across the table.
Yes.
Like that's there's no doubt. And so some of this is actually these are some of the things that I pulled up from my agencies. Like second order fears. So they found the agency presents a great solution that's going to increase your sales. Woohoo! The second order fear is, do we have the resources to fulfill all of those sales, or does this create some other kind of problem that we need to know we can solve before we can move ahead? Or is there a political cost? Am I, as a VP of marketing, going to go to bat to pick the vendor that I like because if they screw it up, I look really bad? Or the thing that they won't say when you are off target, or if they're embarrassed about something, that something under their control hasn't been working, AI is not going to be able to tease that out of them, but you can. And so we need to think about AI as a tool that we use, not as a driver of our actions. So one thing you can do before your next pitch is really put yourselves on the other side of the call. What are the 3 or 4, or might be 2 or 100 things that it is unlikely that the person you're speaking to is actually going to say? Like, who looks bad? Like, what's the cost of failure? Is there a bigger strategic element happening that you're not aware of? And what are you competing against? It may not actually be a competitor. It could be like things are okay. They could be better, but they're okay, and we're comfortable with okay because it sounds like you're going to ask us to change in order to be better. Like no, people often want the transformation without the change. And so before your next discovery call or sales pitch, really try to put yourselves in the shoes of that person using everything that you've learned from your AI, but then layering on top of it your human sense of empathy, vulnerability, and compassion, because that will lead you to ask better questions, have better responses to answers, and engender the thing that is the only difference maker, which is trust. So AI made scale easy, data's a commodity, but being connected and human is your unbeatable edge. My name's Tim. You can find me at timkilroy.com. And if you're interested, I also have a great agency-focused newsletter at agencyinnercircle.com. There you
Awesome,
go.
Tim. Thanks a lot, man. That's
Well,
you kind of went right into the driver, which we usually come around to eventually is the human factor, right? Human communication and that linkage that AI can't give us. So I
yeah,
love that.
and I must say that we see it more and more and more and more that um, that content and even correspondence is being AI generated.
Yep.
And you can't really put your finger on the uncanny valley aspect of it, but you can always like taste it somehow. You get an email and you know that Gemini wrote it. And I think that this is putting businesses and certainly people who are in charge of creating relationships between businesses over reliance on the ease of AI significantly diminishes your opportunity to win in circumstances where all things are equal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think well, one of the crazy important things that you said was that people want the transformation or companies want the transformation,
But
but
not the
they
change.
don't want the change.
Yeah.
And that's been forever. 20 years I've seen companies implement software integrations, different platforms, build multi-million dollar platforms, and then get rid of them because nobody wanted to adopt them. Nobody wanted the change.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. I once worked with a Canadian retailer as an interim VP of e-commerce, and I spent nearly a year there building out an entirely new process that was way more efficient, was, allowed them to be a lot more nimble. And then when I went back to visit about 6 months later, they had reverted basically back to the way they were doing things before because it was hard to remember all the stuff.
yeah,
It didn't feel like, and Joanne, the accounting, didn't like that report, whatever it was. So,
it's the old why can't we do what we've always done because it still works. Well,
right, even if it doesn't. Yeah.
exactly. Awesome. Next we have hopefully I'll say this right, Deirdre coming up.
Yes, you said it right.
Awesome. Deirdre, we'll let you introduce yourself and kind of take it
Okay,
away with your 4C's approach to communication success.
great. Well, I'm Deirdre Breckenridge, and I'm a speaker coach and communications trainer. I'm the CEO of Pure Performance Communications, but also we just launched a new company, which is FIQ AI Inc. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But we do take a human approach. So our system has people come on our platform for speaker training and learning, but it's coach supported. So I want to start with my 4C's presentation. So hang on one second and I'll pull it up. Okay, and let me just, can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, well, I've always believed that the antidote to chaos, because there is a ton of chaos, not even just because of AI, but just life in general and being a professional, it starts with calm. And my mission has always been to help speakers to show up, share their stories, lead pressing conversations, and to create impact. But I also want people to feel comfortable when they speak, to feel good. And that means you have to be aligned. So that all starts with this notion of calm. And that's one of the 4 C's. The 4 C's to communication success are calm, which is the internal state. I'm going to talk about that and give a couple of exercises you can do so that if you're calm, well, certainly you can be clear. You can crystallize your point, have higher verbal fluency, structure, and then you can be concise. Use language that's not ambiguous. You're editing as you go, painting a picture. That's that compelling story so that you could be confident. And confident isn't just you feeling confident when you speak, it's others being confident in you. And that's really interesting because that's where FIQ and our training platform comes in, because sometimes we show up to speak and we intend to say something, but that's not how we're always perceived. And that's where AI is really helpful. And I do want to talk about calm and the brain. So if you think about your brain, there's 2 important centers. It's the rational thinking center, which is in the front part of your brain. And that's what makes us different from all the other mammals. And then there's the limbic center, which is your emotional center. When the 2 centers are integrative and they're in sync, it's easy. You're calm, you're clear, concise, and confident. But what happens when you get a little nervous or you get excited? There's overwhelm, confusion, anxiety. That's when you can't find your words. There's cognitive overload. Cognitive function lowers. And that's really tough when you're about to step on stage. That's really tough when you're in a meeting and there's stress. You always want to maintain that calm. And it's as simple as starting with easy exercises that all of us can do every single day. So these are my 2 favorite. The first one is check in with yourself. Just do a little breathing test. Even right now, stick your hand on your chest, other hand on your stomach. Take a deep breath in. Which hand moves more? Is it the hand on your chest? Is it the hand on your stomach? Because you want the hand on your stomach to move more. That's diaphragmatic breathing. And when you're breathing in your diaphragm, that means you are getting more oxygen to major organs. You're lowering your heart rate and your blood pressure. You're turning on your parasympathetic nervous system. That's calm. That feels good. Simple. The thing is that we run around all day and we're probably breathing in our chests. And when that happens, the body prepares the same way. When you get nervous or a dog is about to attack you, your body prepares. And if you are being attacked or you're in a situation of overwhelm, you start the shallow breathing and it's very hard to speak. And that's where you leak a lot of stress. So I want to talk about vocal, verbal, and nonverbal cues and being aligned. Because when you use the 4 C's, you come into alignment with your voice. It sounds good. It's a rich sounding voice. Your verbal cues, you're saying what you want to say, when you want to say it. And your nonverbal cues, your body language supports everything that you're sharing. However, your vocal, verbal, and nonverbal cues can leak stress as well. So for example, for 30 years, I've been listening to voices. When voices get nervous, they lilt up. Hello, my name is Deirdre. I'm a communication coach. When I go up, that signals nerves. Now, sometimes going up can be enthusiasm, but in some cases, you're just leaking your stress. cadence, loping? Do you have a smooth loping rhythm? Do you carry people along with the sound of your voice because you're breathing properly? Or are you nervous and you're start and stop and robotic? That's a nervous voice. Cadence and loping, they leak your stress. Speed at which you speak. Are you speaking too quickly? People who are uncertain will speed up when they're talking because they want to get past. And that sends a signal to people, even if it was something important that you were sharing, people would step back and say, oh, Deirdre's just rushing to get through this. This isn't important. So those are just tip of the iceberg, vocal cues. Then there's verbal cues, power of the pause. Can you just be silent? Do you have to fill every gap with a word? And what ends up happening when you get nervous and you leak stress, all of those filler words come out. Yeah, like, so. Hear them all the time in meetings. Power of the pause has you pause and people wait for your important words. Concise language. Sometimes when we get nervous, rambling, going down rabbit holes where you don't belong, ambiguous language, that's how you can tell. People are stressed. They're not calm, so they haven't reached that clear and concise. And then fading facts. Have you ever listened to somebody and they're speaking and their voice is steady, and then all of a sudden they go like this? That's a fading fact. And that just says you're leaking your stress or your uncertainty. When it comes to your non-verbal cues, micro expressions and full-on expressions, I'm a micro expressions instructor. I have trained to recognize micro expressions on the face. They're 1/10 to 1/25 of a second. And then there are full-on expressions that leak your behavior. Stress in the eyebrows, the nose wrinkle of disgust, the anger, the bottom teeth, fear spreading the mouth. That says, are you comfortable or uncomfortable? Eye contact. When you're looking at somebody, or just the eyes in general, eyes leak your stress. I watch blink rates. I can see when people get nervous, their eyes flutter. And that says discomfort. And then one more that I'll throw out there that you can think about is that the distance between your chin and your chest is your confidence. Because when you start lowering your chin, that says uncertainty, but it also says I'm protecting the arteries in my neck. These are just a few of the vocal, verbal, and nonverbal cues that I've studied, I've watched for. However, today on our platform and our AI immersive experience, our AI agents can pull the data. There's an agent for vocal cues. There's an agent for verbal cues. There's an agent for nonverbal cues. And then one big agent that pulls everything together. And that is our facial intelligence engine, which really, I'm stepping back to reevaluate. It's fully a communications intelligent agent. And I'm going to show you, that's what the platform looks like, static picture. But I'm actually going to go on the platform so you can see AI in the works. Now, to Tim's point, AI does a lot. It can analyze 106 emotions on the face, all the little micro expressions, all the full expressions, the pitch of voice, which it's your pitch. It can analyze your tone, the speed at which you speak, your volume or voice energy. It gives engagement scores on how you move, on how you're holding your head when you lean in, what your eyes are doing, and your overall emotion buckets. However, you need a coach, because when you're on that platform and you're doing something in real time, it's your coach who can talk to you about being uncomfortable, your vulnerabilities. And yes, does our system recommend exercises? But it's the coach who works you through them and you get closer. And sometimes AI isn't accurate. I think Tim touched on that a bit as well. Can't always trust what AI says. 75% accurate, you need a coach, and you also have to trust yourself. So I'm going to stop sharing this so I can pull up my next screen, which is FIQ. Okay, so I'm in my dashboard right now, and everybody gets a dashboard if you're a client, and it keeps track of your scores. So I'm happy to report that I've finally reached executive excellence. And there's different levels. It starts at foundation, then developing, then proficient, then advanced. Then when you get in your 90s, it's executive excellence. So I'm going to start a session, and then Martin was nice enough to allow me to take a clip from a recent live stream, which was building an AI agent. I'm going to take the clip and I'm going to analyze his clip in real time, because you can be live on FIQ working with your coach, or you can just analyze whether you're on CNBC, or perhaps it's a meeting that you had, or it's a webinar where you presented. You can analyze and see how you've done. So I'm going to start my session. Now, I'll just tell you that my face will flash all kinds of emotions. It's just the way it is. I'm an intense speaker. So yes, my eyebrows furrow and my mouth does funny things, and you'll see that in the emotion bars. However, this little tadpole tracks me, and it's watching my face, and it's watching for my micro expressions. When you see the tadpole dart, that's a micro expression, because it quickly darts and then goes back. And then sometimes it just hangs out. And right now I'm in commanding presence, which is high energy, and that's good because I'm presenting, and I could be determined or curious, or maybe I'm feeling joyous, triumphant. Those are some high positive emotions. And then there's the lower right hand. That's the calm. And you want to be there when you're working with your client. I might not get there now, but that's the serene, the peaceful, confident, assertive, balanced energy. I just went over, I'm moving my face, I went to the left. That's a little stress or tension. It's reactive tension. Could I be intense? Yes, I find myself intense sometimes. Could I be perhaps annoyed, agitated, angry? Yes, there's some really big emotions there. And then the lower left is a low energy. And that's where you could be passive hesitation. I'm stepping back. I'm not sure. I'm taken aback. Maybe I'm a little bit worried. Maybe I'm droopy, tired, sad, depressed, some low energy emotions. The whole time I'm being tracked. Speech analytics are going. Engagement scores are going. And I could record or start my own analytics if I was working with a coach. Now, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to upload Martin. So I have to get Martin's clip, which is actually on my desktop. And I don't know if you can still see my screen.
Yes.
You can. Okay, so hold on one second. Okay, let me just move this over. Bear with me 1 second. All right, without turning anything off. Nope. Okay. There is. Hang on. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is Martin's clip. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to analyze it. And then, Martin, I'm going to ask you to talk about how you felt when you were speaking while the analysis and the FIC bot is working. So everybody just watch Martin, watch what quadrant he's in, his emotions, his speech analytics, his emotion bars, and then we're going to talk about it. So here we go.
Way to start imagining it is as a flow chart. Yeah. Because then we can visualize all the steps and where the decisions need to be made. And it's funny, Sam said you like Claude. I really like Claude too. So I realized yesterday I had so many expenses for various things. I thought, it's going to take me 2 or 3 hours to do this. I actually built in Claude a little mini expense agent. I had to give it access to a folder, told it where things were, how to name the output, how to prepare an Excel file that I then review. So that's the human in the loop to make sure everything's right.
Okay, so now it's transcribing. We're going to have pre-analysis, FICBOT analysis. Martin, how did you feel when you were speaking?
I was actually having a good time. And just for everyone who's watching today, I do own more than one shirt. Just so you know that, since I'm
Sure. Yeah, I don't believe that.
yeah.
I think a good blue shirt works every time, Martin.
Yeah. No, I felt very comfortable, very relaxed. This was on a LinkedIn live session that Deirdre and I do every month. And so it's always fun to go to these sessions. I always look forward to them. And I feel really at home and comfortable there.
That's good. So, in other words, Martin, what you're saying is what you intended to share, how you showed up to speak, is perceived that way. And this is how you can tell. So now I'm going into the report of Martin and how he came across. Because what we try to do is we try to close or narrow the gap between intent and impact. Because you want your intent to actually have impact. This is looking very good. Martin is true to form when he said he was comfortable. I like to see a balance of emotions. I don't get freaked out seeing angry or disgust on the face. They're flashes, if anything, and it's intensity. This simply means that Martin uses his face. Arousal is the etching on the face. He uses his face more, so it's higher. His emotional valence can be positive intensity or negative intensity. He is fully positive when he spoke in that little clip. And then you have his speech analytics. He is a base. He's projecting like a CEO or founder of a company. He is definitely warmer, and your speech rate is off. So I'm going to have to check on that because, Martin, I probably pegged you somewhere around 110 to 120, which is normal for you. And it tracked his filler words. So Martin knows he uses 3 times. He says so 3 times, which isn't bad. It's just anything that's 3 or more, our system tracks, and 2 times because that is a higher level crutch word. So we're real sensitive about that. But look at this. Okay, so Martin is proficient, 76.25. That's great. There's room for improvement. There's room for growth. And then he gets a full session analysis. His strengths, Martin's commanding presence, his vocal projection, he's approachable. And you see all these different areas, his pillar breakdown, why he got those scores, recommended exercises that you do alone or with your coach, and then always next steps. And I think, Martin, unless you have anything else you want to add with context, I think that gives a full report. And
No, it does. I just want to get into the 90s like you.
oh, you will, definitely. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. And thank you. If anybody wants to learn more about me and what I do, please connect with me on LinkedIn. And I also have a newsletter, The Influential Communicator, which you can check out. I talk a lot about what I'm doing. And then you can also go to fiq.ai. There's information there. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Deirdre.
Hey,
That's
Deirdre,
one thing that I
I'm so glad.
haven't seen.
sorry.
Oh, that's one thing that I haven't seen used much, at least in the many videos on YouTube and everything, is a system that actually is using some kind of computer vision or something to actually review the person on the other end of the camera. So this is really cool.
Thank you. We're excited about it, and we're just hoping that people understand that this is all about feeling comfortable. And for so long, and I was one of those media trainers, I'm going to admit it, I was sharing with clients, show up with your talking points, but just because you're saying it doesn't mean that's how you're being perceived. And on the loyalty front, on the trust front, on the reputation front, you have to mean it. And you got to go through those 4 C's. That entire system is mapped to my proprietary approach in training. And you can get yourself calm and get yourself to confidence.
For me, it kind of gave me the idea, like I could use that system to do like a speech and then have it give me
Yes.
back like the feedback. So it changes the practicing of like an on-stage speech or your stage presence.
Yes, that's what my clients do. They'll practice their presentations. We recommend don't go beyond 5 minutes in the upload video function. So you can always practice on your own and upload, or you practice with me or one of my trainers watching you present, and you just start the analytics. And you can capture that same report and then you go over it with your coach, or you record yourself and watch the playback with your coach.
Yeah, that's cool. Tim, you were gonna
Yeah, I
add
was going to
something?
say, I am so glad that I went before you, because otherwise I would have been thinking like, oh, what did I do?
You were great, Tim. You put the human back. That helps leading into what I do. So thank you.
There's still the human factor, right? It can statistically and logically tell you what you look like, but there's things that I'm sure a trained human can still tell that the AI may not be able to tell yet, right?
Right?
So,
Exactly.
I'm sure that's why obviously you recommend a coach, because there's things the coach can add input wise that the AI might not be able to do yet. It may get there many years down the road, but
Maybe. I don't
yeah,
think AI can be as comforting. And when somebody
yeah,
gets vulnerable, when somebody's
I don't.
really fearful or has something going on, because, speaking is one of those fears. There's a high statistic of how scared people are to get up on stage or to speak, and even just in a meeting. And I think that's where a coach is super valuable.
Yeah, because it's the lunchroom in middle school where you think everybody is looking at you,
It's
except they are looking at you.
Everybody's judging you.
the worst. Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Well, I think next we're ready for Martin to round us out here, and then we'll have a more of a panel discussion afterwards. But Martin, you want to go ahead and take it away?
Yes, and I guess, see, there's a filler word right there.
Yeah.
I have to say, following Deirdre is always a challenge, especially when it's me plus me. But what I thought I would do is just turn things over and talk a little bit about a framework that I use every time I think about doing something with AI. And full disclosure, I wish I had created this framework. I didn't. Anthropic did, the makers of Claude, but it's a really great way of stepping back and not just using the tools, but thinking about how you're going to use them, why you're using them, and not offloading all your thinking to a machine. As Tim and Deirdre said, it's all about human to human communication, being more human, expressing yourself, and providing value. And if all we do is outsource everything to a machine, what's the point of any of us doing our job? So let me share my screen right now. And assuming all of you can see it. So when you think about using any of the AI systems, so Gemini, Claude, Copilot, ChatGPT, generally human beings or companies are using them in three ways. First way is to help us, augmentation, and that's really where we're collaborating with a machine. We're going back and forth. For the most part, that's the way we're using AI right now. So we'll ask AI to write something, we'll ask it to challenge our perspective, anything like that. We'll get it to review a piece of content that we've written, give us editorial suggestions. But really, in that situation, it is you, the user, saying to any AI system, I want this, please give it to me, and it gives it back. As we move further along the spectrum, and there's so much talk about agents, and I think agents really are scaring and confusing a lot of people right now because there is an agent spectrum. And so the first type of agent spectrum is something that you might call a custom GPT, for example, or a Copilot agent, which is trigger-based. So you've given the AI system a series of instructions. it knows what it should do. It will sometimes do it proactively, or you can start the process on your own and it'll give you a good output. And that's where the AI system becomes more like an assistant to you. As we move farther along the spectrum, we get to full agency, and that's where these systems work together to complete a number of tasks. And a very good friend of mine, Dr. Alex Seveny, who's a professor at McMaster, he was talking about companies that create agents. And really, every time you create an autonomous agent, what he said is it's like you've hired another person. So if you've created 3 agents without thinking about them, and then an AI orchestrator or manager, all of a sudden you've hired 4 new employees to your company without really giving them job descriptions or thinking through what the ramifications are. And that's where the 4D framework comes in. And it's really easy to remember. And it's a practical way to step back and think about how you're going to use AI before you use it. 4 parts are delegation, description, discernment, and diligence. They all work together. So with delegation, that's where you are thinking about the job, the role, the goal you have, and what the work looks like. Where is AI going to come in? Where is a human going to come in? And that works regardless of whether you're using it for agents, autonomous agents, or for just augmentation, just helping you out. So where is the human, and what does the human do, and what does the AI do? And it's important in that situation to figure out what your goal is, what you want the output to look like, and then your workflow. And that's where you have to plot it out to see where AI might fit. Second thing is the description, or what we call prompting or instructions. And really what you want to think about is you have your goal, you know where an AI fits into your workflow. How do you build reusable templates or communicate the outputs clearly? Because as Tim was saying, everybody talks to these systems, and what you get out of them is very, very similar. And that's because AI systems process text, but not context. That's where the human understanding, the nuance comes in, all the assumptions that we make. That's really what we do. So you want to make sure that when you are communicating, when you're describing what you want, you do it in clear and really detailed language that a machine can understand. And if you look at a great prompt or a great set of instructions for an AI agent and read through it, the language isn't what I would consider, and probably what you would consider, great writing, because it's somewhat repetitive. You're really hammering certain points home, but machines need that, whereas human beings don't. Number 3, discernment is all about what your company's policies are. How can people use AI? Where should they use it? Where should they not use it? And where does the human come into the process to vet this? So it's really about thinking about the protocols, training your team on how to use the system to get it to do the best possible output with your thinking. And I always tell my students, one of the things I do is I'm an adjunct professor of digital marketing at the Schulich School of Business in Toronto and associate director of the Future of Marketing Institute, a global think tank there. And one of the things that I always say to students is start with your ideas. Because when you start with your ideas, you're giving the machine something unique that came from you, from one of your observations. It really goes back to what Tim and Deirdre were both saying. And then you go along the interaction. Final point is diligence. And that's really the process of making sure that every single thing you do with AI is audited. There's human oversight every single step of the way, what the risks might be. You think about those in advance, and you want to really consider how you detect and correct any kind of mistakes before they escalate. Because if by some mistake, or if you have a system where, I'm going to go backwards. If you have a time where an AI creates an output that was filled with errors and you didn't have humans vetting it, either at the beginning, middle, and or end of the process, it goes out, causes a crisis for the company, reputation crisis. The company is ultimately sued. The AI is not going to be asked to be on that witness stand. It's you, the human. So you got to make sure the diligence works together. And so it's really very simple to remember. You got to delegate, describe, figure out what your policies are, and then always know how to fact check and verify the outputs. And when you consider using AI from this perspective, I think one, you'll reduce reputation reputation risk and errors, but you'll also be able to get a better output. And that's pretty much everything. So I'm going to stop my share now.
Awesome. Love that. Yeah, Anthropic comes out with some really good instructions and frameworks. Unfortunately, not many people read them.
Or take their free courses.
Exactly. Yeah, they've really done a lot in the space to help people understand that you can't just throw a bunch of agents out there, throw skills into them, and expect them to do, what you think they're supposed to do. You have to train them up just like you would a new employee. They have to be onboarded. They have to get the context. They have to have the right, you have to delegate the right things to them. And you have to watch them and make sure that they do everything right before you kind of let them free into the world, right?
Yeah, and AI agents aren't perfect, but you know what? Neither are we.
Exactly.
And so hopefully we can collaborate with them in a way that gets the best out of machines, but also the best out of people too. But if all you're doing is just saying, okay, AI, do this for me, I've got to get it off my plate, you're not getting the most you can out of AI, and the output you get is good enough, but not really anything approaching value that you'd want to give to your customers or clients.
Martin, I have a question. With the description part, do you think that if companies don't take the time to do that detailed writing, those prompts, because you mentioned the brand safe results, is that why AI has hallucinations if the prompts aren't brand safe, or no matter what you write, AI will still hallucinate?
No matter what you write, AI will still hallucinate, but it's getting better.
Yes.
Because the systems have improved at just an incredible speed. The reason it hallucinates is because underlying the systems is the fact that they predict outcomes based on the best statistical calculations they can get. So if you ask an AI to do something 3 different times in 3 different windows, you're likely to get 3 different outputs because, again, they're based on statistical probabilities. But if you do give it detailed instructions, there's less of a chance that it will go off the rails. And that's where context engineering comes in, which is really the prompt, the instructions, plus all the documents or resources that you let an AI have access to. So in companies, it could be your style guide, it could be your voice, it could be past examples of things you've written. And that helps. It doesn't make it 100%. And sometimes you have to kind of wrap the AI on its knuckles and say to it, you didn't pay attention to me, so go back and do it again. And it will do that, and likely it will improve. That's almost like an emotive prompt where you're using the same kind of behavior that you might with a human to push their work output.
Or tell them that the Grok could do it better.
Yeah.
Exactly. We had a situation where our FickBot completely hallucinated. One of our clients asked, it was before we had the video upload function, and it wasn't even a thought. And the client asked the FitBot, how can I get my videos analyzed? And the FickBot, our agent, responded with a number of steps that didn't even exist. At which time, immediately I went to the client who was like, "Oh, how do I do this? Can I do this?" I said, "No, no, we don't have it yet, but it's coming." And that's why we actually built it. So it has a happy ending, but it was a complete hallucination. It did not exist.
Yeah, but that hallucination turned into a good idea for you,
Yes.
which is really
It sure
interesting.
did.
And it probably did that because,
Yeah.
again, it's trained on how do you upload a video? Well, you go here, you make sure you have it, you upload it, it's got to be in this format. So it just makes it up based on what it has read or been trained on. On the other hand, next step for doing that is saying to that AI that hallucinated, okay, how would you build it? What do I need to do? And it can get you started at least.
That's exactly how we got started. So it worked.
Yeah, I've learned that being curious with AI works really well, but I do have to remind myself a lot that AI is simply predicting what the next piece of text is. It's not really thinking what the meaning of the next word is, right? So it's going to get it right, but it has that possibility to hallucinate more so than, because a human being is going to go, okay, well, do I need to add an adjective, a verb? Do I need to add a noun after whatever I'm saying? And we just kind of do that instinctively because we've learned through the years, right? All the English classes and things like that, or whatever language you're speaking. But the AI doesn't think that way. It thinks in predictability of the next few sections of letters, right? So
Yeah.
what's the next 3 letters or what's the next 4 letters based on that tokenization, based on its training of what's come next in everything that it's ever seen. So, which I think is cool in a way, but I that's we won't get to AGI until it can actually understand the meaning of the words.
Yeah, although I have to say,
Hmm.
it's getting better. And I'll give you just a quick
Definitely.
example. So I started teaching a new semester a couple weeks ago. And in my intro slide deck, I said to the students, if you've never met me, you probably said, who is Martin Waxman? Give me his bio and a picture. Same way you would have done in Google. And I did it with ChatGPT and Claude, both of which I have paid accounts with. ChatGPT gave a pretty good short bio with an image. And better than it did, say, a year ago or a year and a half ago, where there were hallucinations. Claude gave a better bio, more visuals, and then it added a paragraph. Martin, I know this is you, and you're doing this for your students, but I'm going to play along.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So you start to wonder, okay, what is going on?
I can't help but tell dad jokes whenever possible. It's a true affliction. And it makes my children hate me, but I use Claude, and for a long time it would always ask me, is that a joke? And in the past couple of weeks, it has started joking back.
Right. Isn't that interesting that it has that understanding in air quotes?
It took 6 months of using it and me assaulting it with terrible puns, but it has finally learned. At least somebody will appreciate my humor.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, now just put a voice to it and you'll be good to go.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really awesome. I think, there's still ways to go with these models. On the hallucination line, one thing that I've realized is you can really tell the difference on what the models are trained on if you give it something that's really off frame or out of its own what you would think context. For instance, I had a friend of mine upload a medical test results that were in a completely different language, not in non-English. It was in Armenian, I think. And the answer that ChatGPT gave was that there was a possibility that she had a tumor and she needed surgery immediately, which was completely wrong. In Claude, it did an exact perfect translation and even put something at the bottom describing the medical acronym that was used inside of the findings to kind of help her have context around it. So that's an example of like the two different models, one-shotting. One gave a perfect answer, me and Claude. The other one, ChatGPT, didn't get it right the first time. She actually had to say, no, that's not right. And said, oh, yeah, you're right. I misread it. Here's what it is. And it's kind of the discerning piece of that is a lot of people are forgetting that it's not going to give you the perfect answer the first time, all the time, and that you have to be really curious and what is the word? Interrogate it. Like you have to say, if it doesn't look right to you, tell it, hey, that doesn't look right. Are you sure that's right? And let it correct itself if it needs to. Otherwise, it'll just restate the same thing. So be very wary of what you're asking advice from it for, because you probably won't always get the right advice yet. They're improving, they're getting better, but yeah, you just want to be careful.
We've experienced that. So when you saw the demo and we were in Martin's session, I didn't show a portion of the screen, but there was a little personal bot that's yours and it understands your numbers. So it's a personal fic bot, we call it. And every so often that fic bot is way off. And I'll have to say, wait a second, that's not the number that's in the chart. Are you sure? And then it will apologize and say, oh, I'm sorry, the correct number is, or the percentage. So I think that practice is really important. It's always getting the second opinion. But I also think challenging your AI, your agent, your whatever, ChatGPT, if you're using an LLM, because they tend to just, oh, Deirdre, that's brilliant. Well, is it really? Or would everybody say that? Can you tell me something different? Poke holes in what I'm saying. Because they're just, in the beginning, I feel like they're to give you a big head.
Yeah, lately I've started using multiple. So I'll ask a question to like 5 different LLMs. So there's a lot of popular ones right now, but I'll go and ask the same question to 5 of these specific LLMs, and then I'll put everything together and have one of them kind of summarize everything. But the funny thing is, based on whichever one I've been using the most, sometimes it gives me the best context, but sometimes it doesn't. Because ideally, if you've been chatting with it for a year or two, it should know a lot about you based off of what you chatted on. But then again, it depends on what you've asked it, right? If you're asking it theoretical
Also,
questions that have nothing to do with you, right?
It forgets so much. I've actually made a skill called Fight Me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
That's good.
Which is essentially, I say like, and I use this a lot for brainstorming. And I say, this is what I'm thinking. Here's my argument. Here's why I think that. And then I type /fight me.
Yeah.
I like that.
And it runs out and tries to find counter arguments, but I demand that it give me proof. So I know it's not being offensive.
Good. Proof.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of doing it. You can write that into the instructions too.
Yep.
Like just say, don't compliment me, always challenge my ideas, always challenge my thoughts, and ask me questions. If you don't know of anything or if you're unsure, don't make assumptions.
Right. And also, when you want, just asking, please ask any clarifying questions. It almost always comes up with good questions to help it understand.
Yeah, to collect more data, really.
Yeah, I've learned to put that at the end of everything that I put in there and like, ask me any questions that you need for additional clarification or to give me the best response possible. And it will start asking.
Yeah, don't try
There's some that are better than others, but
yeah, if you try it with people, that's very bad because then they just ask you a bunch of questions. And that's
Those humans.
no.
especially if they like to talk, then they just keep on going and going.
That's right. That's when you use the other rule. Always compliment me. Always tell me how good I am.
Yes.
That's awesome. So I was trying to look at some of the questions with what you all do. Like, I know, Martin, you have students, and obviously you work with clients, and Deirdre, you the same with people who often own businesses, maybe not, and then with you, Tim, as well. How many of these clients or the potential colleagues, etc., have kind of voiced a fear of using AI, of trying to implement it in their businesses, or like, I don't know if I implement it, will it mess things up? Have you come across anyone who's just not implementing it because they're fully afraid of it, or is it more because they just don't know how to integrate it with their business?
I think it's a little bit of everything, really. Some people just are afraid of it. Some people just don't trust it. Some people don't understand it. Some people experience FOBO, which is the fear of becoming obsolete. So they think, oh, these systems are going to come in. I'm not going to have a job in a month or 6 months or a year. I don't want to work with them. And some of them are afraid that they don't trust these systems in the same way that we didn't always trust email over fax machines. If you think back to those days, fax machines were great. They got documents to places much faster than couriers or mail, for any of you who worked in those days.
Yes.
But email attachments at the beginning, some people thought they were not secure. And so they
Because they
refused to
weren't.
use them
Yeah.
because they weren't at first. Yeah. But then there came a point where they were secure, and more secure than a fax machine that was in the middle of an office that anyone could look at.
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned fax machines. One of the first um, automations that I did for a company was to actually make it so they could fax directly from their computer. So
Ooh,
they would
print
do
to
both
fax,
fax.
yes.
The facts.
So,
It must have been in the 80s.
It was a while ago.
Yeah.
so with my clients who are on the in the advertising and marketing space, um, the big fear that they have is not that AI will displace them. There's that's a kind of a minor fear. But what they're really concerned about is the perception of the value of the work they deliver,
Well,
as if people will not pay as much for output that is terrific and does the job. They won't pay as much for it if it has been generated with the help of AI. And I think that this, that and at the moment it's an overstated fear, but
hmm.
there is a foreseeable future where the incremental cost of creating another ad or another piece of content will, it depending upon your quality standards, it is functionally zero at this point. And that creates a real moment of uh, creates a real moment of change for those businesses that work on deliverables, because code deliverables, content deliverables, workflows, whatever the case may be, anything that is delivered but you can create it using AI, is it worth as much? And I think the fundamental, the shift that so many of us have to make is that we are not defined by the quality of the output. We're actually defined by the quality of the input to decide what the output ought to be, and then the impact of that output. So our value really is in deciding what needs to be aggregated, changed, transmogrified, made malleable, and then what's the impact of that? Because I think and certainly in the digital world, the mechanics of going from idea to deliverable really has collapsed in a lot of ways. And so it's become much faster. And I have negative design skills. I'm I'm visually chaotic, um, and with enough prompting from into an LLM, I can generate something that looks okay. And so it has raised my floor for output, but it doesn't. But it hasn't really changed the thinking and the understanding of what needs to be created, and then being able to say, you implemented this or did this and it created that result. And so I think all of us really need to stop focusing on ourselves as agents of output and really agents of judgment and measurement.
Yeah, and I would put that I guess it's not a softer way, but there's one word in there that I always use along with that, and that's creativity. Like, because humans are much more creative when it comes to taking all of our inputs, understanding the inputs, like you said, figuring out how to kind of form them into an idea, a shape, a creation that then we go in and try to have AI now help us do it. For instance, I am visually challenged as well when it comes to creative
Rock on.
type
Yeah.
of things. So I often get like the ideas and I'm like, I wonder if I can do that. And I can't draw, so I could never draw it out. But now I can ask a question, have AI give me prompts, and then prompt something that's going to create, a short video or something. But the easy part is not like the YouTube videos. The easy part comes in you prompting and reprompting and over prompting and prompting again and getting a result and curating it till you like it. And then you have to go and create the video if you're doing a video and get it just right in 15-second intervals because it never gives the same background. It never gives the same close. It can have 6 fingers, 5 fingers, 4 fingers. You could be saying, I'm going to tell you the three things that, and it's like, what? So there's things that you don't see behind the scenes that are still just as complicated as if you had actors shooting the scenes and you had to do multiple takes because somebody said the wrong words or they didn't look the right way. So there's still that piece of it. People are making it sound so easy, but it's improved someone like me to be able to do it, but there's still the difficulty of doing it over and over and getting it perfected to where it's something that you can put out in front of people. So, and I think that's the part that's missed in a lot of the hype out there is there's a
Yes,
lot of complexity to it.
subject matter expertise really, really, really is high on the list of important things to know and do with AI. Because the thing is, if you're not a subject matter expert, and I'm like both you, Tim, and Phil, I'm not great with visuals. And so I'll get AI to do visuals for me. My bar is higher, but if I showed it to an art director who really would know how to use AI systems to get fantastic, consistent, creative images and know where to place them, that would be 2, 3, 4, maybe 10 levels above that. So I think the question to ask is whether the work that you do just needs to be good enough or if it really does need to be creative. Because when it has to be creative, subject matter expertise is, I think, the magic ingredient.
Oh, I agree, Martin.
Yeah, well
Absolutely.
said.
I was going to comment on clients and fear. So I would say that I get a little bit of everything, but at the start, 50% of the clients that who are now engaged said, "Oh, no, 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 no. I don't want to put my face on it. I'll do the demo with your face." And then once they see FIQ and I talk about how, yes, there's disgust and yes, there's anger, but sure, there's happy, they get a little more comfortable and they'll do the demo themselves and that warms them up. And then it's usually, okay, let's work together. The other thing that I noticed is that people, when it comes to facial recognition, right away, they'll say, is this capturing my face? Are these videos, what happens if it's hacked? We don't save the videos. We don't save that data. We just save the metrics, the analytics. That's where our data is stored. So
But
we don't keep the videos.
everyone's face has already been captured. If you've
I
ever been to a
know.
big
I
city
know.
or to an airport,
Exactly.
talent
Exactly.
here already knows who you are.
Yes.
Didn't you guys watch the Super Bowl commercials? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, apparently not.
If it can
It's
track a dog through a
familiar.
Ring camera and find
Yeah.
a lost dog, it can
They can
track
find you.
you and find
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So and they have they recently updated the Blink cameras, so it's not just Ring anymore, it's Blink, and you can choose to
Oh,
update it if you want, and it will tell you who's at your front door. Like it will, if it remembers their face, it'll tell you who it is, or it'll tell you that a dog just ran in front of the camera, or there's a hand by the camera, or something like that. So they're
yeah,
using the computer vision and that technology, which is cool, but a bit
Bad.
concerning.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, our Nest cameras, they'll say Deirdre just walked up the stairs or Deirdre
Yeah.
just was up front. It recognizes my face, family members. It'll say unidentified person when somebody drops off a package. So yes, it can know.
That's for sure. And we're not just getting started. It's just being recognized that we're there. There's other countries that have been using all these visual tracking technologies for a long time. But yeah, it's a fun time for certain people, scary time for others. I tend to get the fun part because I like experimenting with all the tools and doing fun things. I've been experimenting with machine learning, artificial intelligence for years. Just broke out my artificial intelligence book from my master's degree many, many years ago and was looking at how relevant it still is today. So
Excellent.
it's pretty
Yeah, it's
cool.
been around for a long time. It's
Yeah.
so prominent now
Yeah.
in mainstream.
Yeah, I think what was the first um, coining of the term was 1940s, I think, early
Oh my
40s.
goodness.
Guys, there's a kid thing happening that I need to attend to. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Thank
sure,
you.
no
This
problem,
was really
Tim.
fun. I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you,
All right,
Tim.
thanks.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it, Tim.
Nice meeting you, Tim.
Nice meeting you.
What I'll do while we're winding down the conversation here is I'll go ahead and put up on the screen all of our LinkedIn. And we'll put these in the description when we put it on YouTube as well, so that everyone can reach out to us, link with us on our LinkedIn. And if on your LinkedIn you have uh, your other things to link to, like your FIC or some other things, I think, Martin, you had some other
Yes.
places to go to. So they'll be able to get to those. And
Yes, absolutely.
DM us.
Yes.
So I've had a great conversation today. This is one of the better ones. They just keep getting better and better every month. So it's really awesome to do this. One of it's the speaking thing that's getting easier too. I've noticed that this marks a year that I've been doing the Crush the Chaos.
Oh, congratulations.
Wow, congrats. Yeah.
That's great.
So yeah, I started last May with one panelist showing up and myself and nobody else. So we just had a great conversation for an hour, and then that was it. But yeah, lots of differences from then and now, and we'll continue to innovate and keep things going. I really enjoy the conversations and seeing what everyone else is doing in their industry, and it's just amazing, especially
Thank
right
you
now
for
with
doing
AI.
this.
Yeah.
And thank you too for coming in here. I know we had one back in October, I think it was, that I had to cancel, and
Oh,
then
that's right.
and we're, thank you for sticking around long enough to come on and be a panelist and enjoy the conversations.
Well,
Yeah,
thank
me too. And glad we weren't replaced by AI.
No,
In that.
that's really us, the humans. Thank
I
you,
keep
Philip.
I keep trying to give myself a good avatar that'll join Zooms, but they're just not there yet.
No, it's
No.
not there. Not happening.
All right. Well, with that, thank you everybody for joining the Crush to Chaos. We'll be back next month with another set of panelists. And if you want to reach out to any of the panelists today, there are their LinkedIn on the screen, and they'll also be in the description when we put the video out on YouTube. Thanks a lot. Until next
Thank
month.
you
Appreciate it,
a
everybody.
lot.
Thanks.
Bye.